What's up guys, my name is Squid and welcome to episode 1 of my Ren'py tutorial for beginners. In this episode we're going to be covering project setup, which is basically how to set up your first Ren'py project, how to edit it, how to search through files, and basically just how to understand the first steps of creating your own game. Now, for the sake of this tutorial, I'm going to keep things very simple, very to the point, and I'm going to try my best to not overwhelm you with information. Um, with that being said, I'm going to assume you already have Ren'py installed. If not, I can make a separate tutorial about that later. But for those of you that already have it installed, what we're going to do is we're going to scroll, or I guess we're going to move our mouse down to the launcher. Um, Wherever that may be, I recommend putting it on your taskbar just for easy access whenever. But open up your launcher. After you open up your launcher, then you want to go down to Create New Project. You want to click that, and then it tells you that you will be creating a project in English. You can change the language in preferences to whatever language you want to make your game in. But for the sake of this, because I'm an English speaker, we're doing English. So click continue. Now we're on to project name. This is whatever you want to name your game. Um, if you don't know what you want to name it fully yet, that's perfectly okay. You can name it anything because the name is changeable at any time. So for the sake of this, I'm just going to put YouTube tutorial and click continue. Wait, no, sorry. Before I click continue, you can do version, 2, 3 point whatever, 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 but you don't have to because that is actually its own separate thing that you can edit in the files later on. So you want to pick your name and then click continue. And now we're on to aspect ratios. Now, basically, for those of you that are like new to computer stuff, this can seem complicated. It's really not. This is basically just the size of your images that you're going to be using. Bigger images like 4K, 8K, stuff like that, you're going to need much bigger resolutions. 3840 by 2160 is 4K, I believe. And if you're not making something in 4K, then 9 times out of 10, 1920 by 1080 is generally pretty good. Now, this as well you can change at any time, so don't overthink it. But if you do know what you're doing already, then now you can select it. Now, what I will say though, before you click anything and get too far in, if you pick any size and then you change the resolution later, the default UI that they give you will not work because it will be scaled to whatever the original size was, meaning you'll either have to scale it yourself, rescale it yourself, or make a whole new project with those exact ratio specifications to get the desired UI, the desired base UI. But that's only if you plan on keeping the game's base UI, and 9 times out of 10 you'll end up remaking the entire UI from scratch to fit your game, so don't ever think it. So pick whatever you're going to use. I'm using 1920 by 1080 and then click continue. Now we're on to accent and background colors. Now there's the darker backgrounds and then the lighter backgrounds. This is purely aesthetic for whatever fits your game's theme. Your game's theme. If you're making a more girly game, then I'd say something like pink and white would be good. If you're making maybe a scary game or something more sinister, then something like black and red would be good. Personally, I like the black and red, so that's what I'm going to be sticking with. But you can pick whatever colors you want. So pick your colors, then click continue, and now it goes into processing and it starts creating our project. This is basically what's going to hold all of your files and scripts and everything to make your game a game. It has 3 folders and 3 main scripts that it starts with. So the 3 main folders are images, audio, and GUI. Um, you're going to put all of the sprites and the backgrounds and basically anything you see, really, game-wise, gameplay-wise, in the images folder, videos as well. And then anything that you're going to hear, sound effects, music, anything like that is going to go in the audio folder or its subfolders. And then GUI is just like the menus and things that the game kind of comes with that you can also modify to your heart's content later on. Now, I will say, before you do anything in this folder, anything, if you're going to change things, make a copy of this folder and put it somewhere safe, because messing with this will definitely mess up some things if you don't know what you're doing. So just save it, put it somewhere, then experiment and jump in and figure it out. Um, I have unfortunately learned that mistake the hard way, so don't do that. So now we're on to the script files. There is script.rpy, options.rpy, GUI.rpy, and screens.rpy. To edit any of these scripts and start coding or changing things, you need a text editor. So I highly recommend you download Visual Studio Code, and I you might be able to use some other kind of text editor. I'm not entirely sure, but Visual Studio Code is a safe, easy choice. I'll put a link to that in the description as well, so you can download it in case you can't find it for whatever the reason is. But yeah, so after you make your project, you want to come down to any of these files and just click on them or click Open Project. And if you haven't already installed or if you already haven't set up your Ren'py to find Visual Studio Code, instead of opening it up, it will bring up this this second window where it tells you that you can either download Visual Studio Code or VSC through Ren'py, or you can find a version of it that's already on your computer. If you don't have it, you can download it either from the link in the description or through Ren'py itself. And if you do already have it, you can click on the bottom one that says, what's that say again? It should say something like Visual Studio Code and then the parentheses and then System next to it. That's going to find the one that's already on your computer somewhere. And then once you have that set up, it'll bring you here. So once it brings you here, you want to click this Game tab, tab that down. And this seems like a lot, but it's really not. Don't worry. All of these, ignore these. These are essentially other folders that have nothing in them except for the GUI that has all the pictures that we already saw. Now first, I want to say all of these RPYC files, ignore those. I don't even really know what those do. Rest assured, you never have to touch those. Don't even worry about it. So there's GUI.rpy, which is the first one. This is what handles all of the GUI elements for your game. This handles your aspect ratios. This handles your text colors, your accent colors, your idle colors. Just mainly the colors for a lot of things, as well as font, which is right here, font size, text size, name size, menus, all of that. It's all handled here. Next is options.rpy. This is where you set up your game's name, where you set up the game version right here, where you set up whether it shows the game name at all, whether it shows the game version at all, the build name, whether it has music, sound effects, or text-to-speech voice commands, and just lots of configurations really. Next is screens.rpy. This is the script that I hate. This is by far the most complicated one to understand. I'm still learning how to understand it, so if you start looking through all these scripts and you're like getting overwhelmed, don't worry. It's okay. It is a lot to look through, it is a lot to understand, and it seems like a mountain that you're never going to get over, but I promise you, you will. I promise you, if you just stick with it, you will eventually know how to look at. You will just know all of this, and honestly, it passes a lot quicker than you think it does. The main thing is just to not get overwhelmed. Just believe in yourself, believe that you can do what you put your mind to, because in this case, you definitely can. Um, but yeah, this folder handles how to describe it. It handles a lot of the aspect ratios and margins and like where different UI elements appear in the game. So like where the text boxes appear, where the choice menus appear, and things like that. This is definitely a bit advanced. So, but luckily you don't really have to worry about that until you get like really into your game and you start changing where those things are. But that's a long way down the road, so don't worry about that. Next is script.rpy. So script.rpy is essentially where like you store all of the script, all the code for the actual game. So dialogue, characters, variables, interactions, chunks of the story, everything typically, at least in the beginning when you're first starting out and don't have that much code, is stored here. Now, in future tutorials, we'll get to making separate additional files to store certain pieces of code so that your code is more organized, because code organization is a huge thing. But for now, don't worry about that. We'll get to it as we progress through the series, so don't worry about it. That's basically it. That's how Ren'py really works. Um, you know what? Real quick, before we end the video, I will teach you actually what all of this means for those of you that do not know, that are just getting into Ren'py and don't even know what to do yet. So quickly, let's go over here. Let's open up the launcher, and then you want to select your project, whichever one you want to make, which typically is going to be the one up here. And then you want to click Launch Project. When you launch your project, it basically boots up a test version of the game based on the code you already have in your like the code you already have in your script. And basically, it shows you what someone would see if they downloaded your game and played it at that very moment. So we haven't done anything here. This is all the default things that come in Ren'py. So we start it. It has the background, this sprite, and then the character Eileen. And she says that we've created a new Ren'py game. And then it says once you add a story, pictures, and music, you can release it to the world. And then kicks us back to the main menu, which is exactly what happened here. It started, it showed us the background, it showed us the sprite, and then Eileen had her dialogue, and then this return kicked us back to the main menu. Now, they defined the character up here by saying define, and then the shorthand for the character, and then equals character with a capital C, and the rest of this. If you want to make additional characters, you can just copy this and then paste it, and then just change the shorthand from E to, let's say, W, and then change the name in the parentheses to Wes, and then you can change one of these to W, and then close this out and open it back up, and then start. And now Wes is saying that we've created a new game. That is the quick, unexplained way on how to make a new character. And this is kind of the basics you need to get started with just the dialogue portion. So with that being said, I'm going to call the video here. In the next video, we're going to cover defining characters, writing dialogue, and just generally understanding all of that in a more in-depth way. So I want to thank all of you for watching this video. I want to applaud you for getting this far and not just getting overwhelmed and clicking off and never coming back. I know it seems hard. I know that could seem overwhelming, but I promise you, You've got this in the bag. Just keep going, keep pushing, and whatever your goal is, you will get there. Now, with that being said, if you have any questions that I didn't quite answer in this tutorial that I might have skipped over, let me know in the comments. I will get back to you as soon as I possibly can. If there's anything specific that you want me to cover in future videos, put that in the comments and I will let you know if I can do that. If it is within my coding knowledge, I definitely will. If not, then I'll try my best to learn it so I can explain it in a easy to understand way. And with that being said, again, thank you for watching. Leave a comment if you want to say anything, and peace out.